Hello people, this is Sonali, the Melodramatic Bookworm. If you've been here before, welcome back, and if you're new to my channel, welcome to the Melodramatic Bookworm family. I'm here today with 10 anti-book recommendations. This means that these are books that I did not like at all. Some of the worst books I've ever read, in my personal opinion. It's just my opinion, and this does not mean that if you like any of the books in this list, this is not a personal attack on you. It's just my opinion. People are entitled to have their own opinion, so please remember that. Okay, so now that that's out of the way, by anti-book recommendations I mean that you will never catch me recommending these books, at least at this point in time. So basically what I'm trying to say is that this is a subtle hint for those of you who haven't read these books and I'm saying that please, it's okay if you haven't read these books. Don't think that you are missing out on a lot. It's okay. It's a whole different matter if you actually want to read these books and experience whatever they're saying for yourself. But I'm just here to help you out with my opinions of these books, okay? Okay, so without any further ado, let's dive right into this video and let me share with you the 10 books that I'm not recommending to you. I'm recommending that you stay away from them. First up, when I was making this list, I made the list and then I was like, there's something missing. And then it hit me and I hit myself and I went, how could you forget this book? This is like the top book that you would never recommend. You even made an hour-long video about it. The book is called The Subtle Art of Not Giving an F by Mark Manson, and I did make an hour-long rant review of this book. If you'd like to go check that out, link is here as well as in the description box below. This is a book that I absolutely detest. Like, I don't say this about a lot of books, but I absolutely detest this book because of how like white privilegey it is. The author just thinks that not giving a F throughout the book and repeating it will make it into some sort of a self-help dictionary and thesaurus and Wikipedia Britannica encyclopedia of sorts. What the author does throughout the book, in my opinion, that's how I see it. See, perspective, people, perspective, okay? He just belittles the reader. He belittles people who actually feel things. He literally told a dad that the grief that he was feeling for his sons after his son's death was completely up to him, and he was not emerging from that grief because he wasn't doing enough. That was the last straw for me. I mean, there were a lot of straws after that. Like, I know that book has helped a lot of people and I'm glad that people have found use in that book and I'm glad that people like it, I think. But me personally, if someone asked me, would you recommend The Subtle Art? I would say no. No, there are a lot of better self-help books out there. There are a lot of better people on the internet that you can find who can motivate you to do better. Just don't pick that book up. The second book I remembered because I was cleaning up my blog and I had done a whole blog post about it and talking about how angry this book made me. This is called Think With Me by Sahara Sri Subrata Roy Sahara, and this is supposed to be his autobiography, and he talks about his life, I think his business life as well. This was like way back when, I think 2017 I think. Sahara, in this book, he is so arrogant and condescending towards poor people, towards anybody who is below his class. He's literally saying that we have a bad quality population, as if we are apples, we are not people. And he also goes and talks about how the people who are below the poverty line are bad for economic development. And he's so arrogant to think that the children that he put out into this world are better than anybody else's. Just listen to this excerpt from the book and you'll understand why I'm fuming or why I have been fuming. Even if I had produced 10 children, I would have given those many good citizens to the country because God has given me the financial and social capability to do so. We stopped at 2, but on the other hand, around 10 children are being born to single parents on the roads and in slums. Bravo. Next up is a book that I was forced to read by my Bookstagram friend, and I was forced to make reading vlogs on it. I think I've made 3. They are up on my channel, obviously. If you'd like to go check that out, links will be in the description box below. The book is called Wetlands by Charlotte Roche, and I thought that this was going to be a book in which we are going to celebrate being a woman, being able to openly talk about a woman's body and without objectifying it, without making it disgusting. But the author succeeded in making it disgusting in a way that is so, it's dirty. It's just plain dirty. It's not being open and progressive. This book is not that. But that book I would never recommend to anyone. It's a bad book. Next up is Trail of Broken Wings by Sejal Badani, and this is the story of a toxic family. Okay, and I understand that in a novel, when you write about a toxic family and you write about such characters, you are just portraying reality as it is, and you are trying to tell that, see, people like this exist and people like this go about their lives every day, and I'm fine with that. But it gets to the point where every single character in here becomes so toxic. There's no redemption. At least I know that in reality you don't expect redemption, you don't expect that ending, you don't expect everything to be tied up by at the end of the day. But when I'm reading a novel, I do want that. I don't want open endings. Like, not technically don't want open endings. I want redemption when people are this bad, when people are this toxic. It's a difficult line to tread with family and all, but do something that will make these characters, give them their redemption. There are some metaphors that the author uses well, but in other cases it's just plain repetitive and just bad energy. There's a negative energy going throughout the book. I think I did a blog review of this book, and I went on a whole rant about it. If you'd like to go check that out, I will leave the link in the description box below if that blog post still exists on my blog. Next, I Am Pilgrim by Terry Hayes. This is like an 800-900 page book. I DNF'd it at around 60-70 pages because this is a book that is so sexist, chauvinistic and misogynistic as well. All they see about a woman is her body. There's a police officer or someone who's coming in to do interrogation or something, and all the author can think of describing is her body. But when the hero is coming in, oh no, there's going to be a huge air of macho, I'm going to save this world, savior complex, and that just boiled my blood. Like, I had sticky notes throughout, and I got so angry throughout it all. I was just like, why? But I didn't know. Next, Fate of Eight by Dheeraj Singh. Because in this book, again, like I Am Pilgrim, the men are glorified. Whatever the men do, it's like, oh wow, he's the hero. He's going to do so much for the world, he's going to do so much for the country, for his family, and he does this, he does that, etc, etc, etc. But then when it comes to the woman, oh, she smiled. She smiled, she did her thing, which is apparently seduction, and that person fell for her. And that's how she's going to make her way into politics, and that's how she's going to run the country. And that's apparently even the most celebrated of female politicians can do just that. They are good only for that. And somewhere early in the book, someone's wife dies while giving birth to their child, and this man, this a-hole of a man, he ends up saying, how can she die? Now who will take care of my son? Hey, your wife died, dude. And the language is also bad, so combine both of them and it's just like, no, just no. So if you ever come across this book. Next is an absolute classic that I think I'm going to get flack for, but I don't know, I just found it to be sexist. But Peter Pan by J.M. Barrie. It's a children's book. It's supposed to be a children's book, but I just found it to be so, what is the opposite of empowering? Like, it just pulls women down, it pulls girls down. If you are telling these kind of stories to children, don't. Because throughout the book, it's like Tinkerbell, when she wants attention, she's just going to go and start crying, because that's what women do, right? That's what girls do. There's this whole narrative about how women always do that. They just crave attention, and that's how they do, and they will go to any extent to get attention, and that just boiled my blood. See, technically I wouldn't say this is the worst book, because so many people love it, and I technically I see why, but I also cannot ignore the fact that I absolutely do not like this book, and I would not recommend it to anybody because of these things that I was talking about. How can you put that in children's heads? Like, women are supposed to be like, don't slot. Next, Revolution 2020 by Chetan Bhagat. I feel like Chetan Bhagat has a recipe. Okay, he uses that recipe. He just changes the characters, the settings, does a little mix up, and churns it out as a new book. Small town guy goes to city and he falls in love with a girl, but there's also another guy in the equation, and something happens. I mean, I just remember feeling so let down. I don't even know why I'm saying let down, because I never had any expectations from Chetan Bhagat per se. I mean, I don't have anything against... Okay, he can be sexist in his books. Yes, that's why I don't like his books even further. Nothing against the people who read them, but as long as they acknowledge that these things happen. Whenever someone says Revolution 2020, I just go, oh God, give me patience, please. Just no. It's a big no, because first, same recipe. Second, sexism. Using women as an object, like as an object to further the man's story instead of showing them to be their own character. We are people, man. Yeah, that's why I cannot stand Revolution 2020. I mean, there are a few other books of Chetan Bhagat that I would not recommend also, but next is a book that I read last year, and I just have such strong feelings of dislike towards it because of how it turned out. The book is called Star Daughter by Shweta Thakrar, and I don't have enough words to express why this book isn't as great as people are making it out to be. The way the author has used Hindu mythology and Hindu terms and the things that we are used to seeing, and turned it into a fantasy of sorts. The way that usage has turned into something very basic, something very lame, because that fight to the death of whatever conclusion that climax was going to be is it's just a big no. How are you going to come to a conclusion with that of all the things? And the writing is also meh. Like, you build up the expectations for a book like this, and you think that, yes, wow, I'm getting a Hindu fantasy and I'm going to see things from a different perspective, but all it does is whitewash things. It's just told in such a manner as to appease white audiences, it feels like, because I've seen a lot of white people say that this is an amazing book and this is such a beautiful book and all of that, but just the representation in there and the way the author has put in all the terms and made all the connections in there, it's just basic, because it builds up to a certain level and then it just lets you down from the stars to the earth. Like, you just fall with a thump, and it just doesn't feel like the right kind of representation for me. I mean, I'm happy for the author perhaps wherever she has found success, but it's just... And last but not the least is a book that I wouldn't say it is one of the worst books that I've read, and I wouldn't say that I technically dislike or hate it, but I just feel so let down by that book. Okay, wait. First of all, the book is called Men Explain Things to Me by Rebecca Solnit. This was one of my most the books that I was really excited to read last year, and when I did read, I just found it to be so underwhelming. Like throughout the book, the author is supposed to be talking about her experiences about how mansplaining happens and about how feminism is needed in a lot of ways, so that I'm going to stop at that. But there's a sort of not all men tone to the whole book, in which the author is trying to make excuses for men, and I'm like, I mean, you don't have to be apologetic about feminism. You don't have to apologize for standing up for your own self. So that was my list of 10 books that I would not recommend. An anti-book recommendation list, if you will. And yeah, those could be counted in the list, or in my list of the worst books that I have ever read. It's my list, it's my personal opinion, nothing against you if you like any of these books. I'm saying this once again. But yes, which of these have you read? Which ones do you like? Which ones do you not like? Which ones do you agree with me on? Which ones do you disagree with me on? Let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. If you like this video, please like it and share it to spread the word. And if you like my content and would like to see more from me, don't forget to hit subscribe and click on the bell icon beside the subscribe button to get notified as and when I post new videos. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Until next time, keep reading, keep watching, and add melodrama to your life.